Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the last video, I discussed God consciousness and sincerity, and you can't have one without the other, especially if you're aimed towards truth and knowledge and justice and all these things that we as human beings require to basically have a civilized society. As Muslims, our aim is to perfect our manners, our spirit, our soul, psycho-spirit. And the reason I talk about God consciousness and sincerity, especially God consciousness, is because without God consciousness, you cannot be self-aware. If you don't know who Allah is, if you don't know who God is, you're not going to know yourself. And you're not going to know or be able to distinguish between the correct way of behaving and the incorrect way of behaving. Okay? So this is the aim and the purposes of a Muslim, is to basically purify his soul through good character and through what's right and what's wrong. There's analogies in the Quran about how one should carry themselves and how one should interact with other human beings, you know. What we try to avoid is the opposite end of the spectrum, basically, of these two traits, being a narcissist and being an egoist. And that's what I want to discuss now, which kind of correlates to the whole idea of being God conscious. You know what I mean? Because the whole purpose is to, again, perfect your own soul and get rid of the negative traits. Be self-aware through being God consciousness and not being heedless. Because as human beings, we interact with each other based on a persona, a personality. And these personalities need to be perfected so we can interact and not clash and understand each other. So yeah, in the last video, I wasn't being tangential or anything. Everything connects and correlates and relates to one another. So, for example, you have on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have the egoist, and then on the other end, you have the narcissist. The narcissist is someone who's arrogant, heedless, prideful, self-conceited, you know. It's all about the egoist, you know, egotistical. Even people who operate based on ethical egoism, they fall in that category, believe me. Now, when we talk about the egoist is someone who's the complete opposite. He's like selfless almost, but not in a way that is being God conscious, you know. It's in a way of also being heedless, because he does not know the method. He's not aware of a method of how to interact with these people. He's meek, submissive, easily imposed upon, you know. Does not have an identity, does not have a persona, does not have a character. He's basically someone who can be used as a doormat. That's what an egoist is. He wants to please people, but at the same time he gets stepped on, you know. He does not have a limit. We as Muslims, we have bounds. That's why we choose the middle path. Neither a narcissist, neither an egoist, okay? And by the way, if a narcissist sins, because a narcissist operates based on psychology and emotions, not based on reason and intellect and knowledge, you know? A narcissist is someone who's heedless of his God, is heedless of his own self. He's full-blown zombie, if you may say, like a zombie, a spiritual zombie, a energy vampire, if you may call him that. That's what a narcissist is in a nutshell. He's an energy vampire. He'll suck your energy out of you and drain you and exhaust you, especially if you're dealing with someone like that as an egoist as well, because the egoist will get stepped on. So if a narcissist senses an egoist, he'll chew him up and spit him out. You know, that's what it is. And an egoist now needs to figure out a way to be in the middle path, and the narcissist also needs to figure out a way to be in the middle path, because both are heedless. They don't possess the knowledge to find a method of psychoanalyzing their own spirit, because they're not conscious of it. They're not aware of their own self, and they're not aware of Allah neither. You know, if you're aware of Allah, you'll know what is wrong and you'll know what is right, and you'll act accordingly, you know, with good manners and leniently too. You got to be lenient, because remember now, when I'm talking about two traits, psychological traits, in the opposite end of the spectrum. You have the narcissist and the egoist, then you have Moses, and then you have Pharaoh, you have Abraham, you have Nimrod. You see, but do not get it confused now. I'm not saying that Moses is in the opposite end of the spectrum and Abraham is in the opposite end. No, Abraham and Moses were in the middle path. Okay, so we have Moses, and who was commanded to go to Pharaoh. He was commanded to go to Pharaoh and speak to him in a lenient fashion. Why? Because Moses was a stern, dominant prophet. He was to assist Moses from the knowledge that we have about him, and assist his psycho spirit, assist his make a psychoanalysis of who Moses is, or who Moses was. You will know that Moses was a very stern prophet and a very dominant prophet, especially towards the Israelites. He was very dominant in the sense that he didn't tolerate them doing anything wrong or disobeying Allah, because he was a prophet amongst them, in the midst of them, and he was showing them signs of Allah and miracles, and to show these people all this stuff, and all of a sudden they become deviants. You have the right to be stern. You have the right to be in such context. You have the right to be very aggressive towards them, you know, and tough, you know, because they're also his people, his qawm. And now when we look at the ayah that God told Moses, go to Pharaoh and speak to him in a lenient way. Why did Allah command Moses to speak to Pharaoh in a lenient way? Because Moses is a dominant prophet, and if you had a dominant personality clashing with someone who's narcissistic like Pharaoh, you'll have a clash. Okay, you'll have a clash. And he had to go talk to him in a lenient way, in a humble way, in a nice fashion, and just speak to him and tell him who God is. Okay, so that's to be God conscious, bro. To fear Allah. So he can actually, it'll benefit Pharaoh, the narcissist. It'll benefit him if he was God conscious. He'll be able to ascertain knowledge about his own spirit as well about his own nafs, and he'll find a way or a method. God will reveal to him a method of purifying his own soul as well. You know what I mean? And that's the whole point of being God conscious. People don't understand it. They don't talk much about it at the mosques. They don't preach about what God consciousness is. And that's why when I was a kid, alhamdulillah, the first time I heard God consciousness, when I was around 4 or 5, it triggered in me. It's something innate. Okay, if you're a Muslim, if you're someone who reflects and ponders, it's innate, something that clicks in you. You become self-cognizant of how to perfect and purify your own nafs, your own soul, and you can also discern and see, and you can actually intuit and see. It'll be revealed to you how the personalities of other people, and believe it or not, you'll be able to judge other people, assist their psycho spirit, so to speak, based on the way they behave. You know, it becomes innate, intuitive. All this stuff are intuitive, I would say, because we also possess a spirit. We also possess a soul, so we can like a psyche, if you may say. So we know what it is. It's innate. We know how not to behave and how to behave. We can distinguish. Abraham, when he was speaking to, now Abraham he did not have the same persona as Moses. Okay, Abraham was Khalilullah, you know, he was an intimate friend with Allah. He was very God conscious and pious. And that's what the term Khalilullah means. It's to be very intimate with Allah. Allah's on your mind 24/7. You're always with Allah. You're pious. You basically obey Him. Obey Allah while you're even alone. You don't do anything to upset Him. That's how intimate he was with Allah. Khalilullah means the friend of God. It's even mentioned in the Bible, and that's what it means, is to be intimate. And that's what God, it's all spiritual. It's all, and that's why with this type of video, my aim is to basically tackle things psychologically and to tell people, hey, all you atheists who operate based on emotions, and not just atheists, even Muslims and theists and deists and people in general who are lay, who are not cognizant, you need to basically understand something, okay? All this emotional biases and operating based on psychology and not knowledge it makes you heedless. Yeah, people who are so heedless, they have no insight. Allah does not give them basar. Allah says, فَاعْتَبِرُوا يَا أُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ in the Quran. Says, take listen, O you people of discernment. We are a people of discernment. Believe it or not, human beings are capable of being prudent, being sagacious, having wisdom, being wise people. Because we all possess this stuff. Like if you look at Al-Ghazali talks about the sage, the dog, and the pig. We all have these traits. We can either be sagacious, the sage, we can either be like the dog, aggressive and angry all the time, or we can be like the pig and fall into greed, selfishness, gluttony, having bestial urges, following our bestial desires. And that's when you become narcissistic. That's when you become heedless of Allah. See how I talked about Abraham, how he's intimate. What is God consciousness? It's not just to pray. A lot of Muslims now pray as a habit. They pray and fast and give an alms and do hajj, and then they come back the same because they're not connected with Allah intimate. They're driven to basically be beguiled by their own nafs, by their own soul, by their own ego, being beguiled by their own desires. I desire to do this, I have it in me. And it's not even a bestial desire, it's more so the ego. It's a spiritual desire. I just want to be like that, I want to accumulate as much wealth, and I want to avid to materialism, being loving this world more than the hereafter. When you love the world more than the hereafter, that means you don't have love for Allah. You're not intimate. You're not intimate like Khalilullah. You're not intimate like Abraham. The moment you become intimate with Allah, it's through God consciousness and piety and sincerity and praying. The moment your behavior will change, and you'll be self-conscious, and you'll drop the ego, you'll drop the narcissism, you won't be an echoist, and this goes to the echoist as well. And you'll have courage and bravery to stand up for truth and justice. That's what I've been talking about last time. It all correlates. I wasn't tangential, because a lot of people assume maybe I was being tangential. I wasn't. And that's because this is what it is. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about truth, knowledge, justice, tranquility, peace, liberty. What is freedom? And listen, I don't want to go now. I might be going off on a tangent because we're talking about other things, but to focus on the narcissist and the echoist and the middle path is to basically be God conscious and to please the higher being. Al-A'la. Al-A'la means the most high, and that's that being. And that being exists. It's an ontology. It's a reality. And through such ontology, you can actually attain epistemology. You can attain knowledge. You can attain a lot of things, and justification in the way you assess and judge the people at the end of the day. And I think this is all that needs to be covered. If I miss anything, I'll mention it again in another video. But this is it in a nutshell. And I hope people take heed, become self-conscious through God consciousness, and to avoid all the negative traits, and to basically interact with each other through piety. And that's what it is, God consciousness. Or else it'll be egocentric, and they won't focus on Allah. They'll focus on, and it'll become more like ethical egoism. And then Allah won't give you the insight of the consequences of your action, and you'll fall trapped into a lot of things. Even when calamity comes, you won't be able to deal with it. So always be God conscious like Ibrahim, okay? And Musa was God conscious too, you know, all the prophets. But Ibrahim was given the nickname specifically because he did what Muhammad did, you know, the same thing. Him and Muhammad, peace be upon them, had the same type of personas as prophets, and they basically were given a wahi in a similar fashion, you know, like by contemplating and reflecting on the people of their time. That's why I said, if you're a Muslim who never judged anything and nothing bothers you in society, and you're just content with what's happening, then you need to really assess yourself, because there's a lot of things going on that you shouldn't be happy with. You know, you should try to change your own self and others as well to become better people. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.